Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are we doing?
Good.
I like when there is humor around because it's the best medicine ever. It throws us off from all things that are going on. So as I speak to you, I just want to remind that I speak from inspiration, and anything that is being shared is not just for you, it is just for me as well. So the mind has been on the journey of spiritualism lately, and where it has brought me from where I was. And there are so many things to share and talk about, but the beauty of what I have discovered is being exposed to many other religions in India. Most of us all talk about just one thing, you know, the core of everything starts and ends with love. No matter what religion we look at, wherever we are in the big journey. But there is more to it, because everybody has a different way of approaching the word love, and some feel that they are expressing their sense of love, but the one that is receiving may or may not feel that. And it's vice versa. The one that is receiving the way they know best to receive. Then the question is, the one that is giving, does he feel fulfilled by their giving? But why is all this important? Because spiritualism, I feel, is a very living, alive religion and a philosophy in many ways. Because we believe the continuity of life, that we are here, and if we release our spirit to the spirit world, as we are, we continue to grow and continue to move on. And that makes this whole concept of where we are and how we are very interesting. So before we get into the deep part of that conversation, the beginning part is, what are you doing for yourself just in this moment of your life, just like right now? Because if you are giving your energy and power to others that are around you, or the situations that are around you, that is wonderful, because that's how we are supposed to be. But what are you really doing about yourself? Your personal self. The inner you, the real you. Because I am becoming more and more aware, because that's where the journey is starting, and that's where the journey is leading. It's just like a big loop. We're going in a circle. We're going to start somewhere, we're going to end up with ourselves. So self is very important, because self is where everything evolves, everything comes into light within that part. So we'll just dissect in a small way of saying, in the materialistic world, what are you doing for yourself? Are you fulfilled? Do you have a great job? Do you have a good family? Do you have a good household? And good can be defined by in your own way, not my way or somebody else's way. What is good to you? But at the same time, the idea is, are you fulfilling the self that is right here? And where we are in the big scheme of things. How many of us have had the opportunity to be with our family members in their times of transition, while they're going through their own challenging journey, but we have to be present with them to guide them or be there for support. And sometimes we really don't know how to act and behave, because we really don't have the ability to handle the emotion that evokes through the journey of the physical life and death. But once again, even though those crucial circumstances that are arising, where is the sense of self within that? Life can be very hectic. What are you doing for yourself? There are many different things that can be done for the self, but what are you really applying yourself? How many of us meditate on a regular basis? And how long is that meditation? What goes in that meditation? Are you just sitting still, or are you really meditating? It's an interesting concept, because meditation for some is a very ritualistic practice. And for some it is just nothing but sitting in stillness or silence. But meditation is probably one of the most powerful tools to connect to yourself. And not just self in this physical, materialistic world, but through practice, through just devotion of sitting in that quiet space, can lead you to connect with your higher self. And that's there all the beauty of our being exists is somewhere floating up top here, right? There's information, there's encouragement, there's knowledge, wisdom, everything is there. So as you sit in meditation, that connection within yourself purifies what is on the inside, and it allows us to look for the higher things, better things, finer things. Within that higher realm is also all the laws in the nature that exist and all the spiritual laws that exist. And on your accord, you find where the journey of that connection is. Taking personal responsibility, we just recited one of the principles in the book. Taking personal responsibility is also a way of connecting with ourselves in some way. There's a new phrase, it's actually not new, it's been an old phrase, taking ownership. Taking ownership of the journey of life that we are all in. Because we have free will and we have free choice, but within those concepts of those two phrases is the ownership. So why do we like to really take ownership of all the good things and shy away from things that were not so good? Why is that the case? So I can't say, I made a mistake. Let me do something about it. I tried this, it didn't work out, it failed. What is my part in it? Because that reflection, that little moment of reflection will take us on the inside. Will take us to ourselves. And there are many mistakes that we have overlooked because life was in a rush and we had to go to the supermarket or we had to go to that dinner and we just forgot about things that mattered at that time. So that being said, how many of us take the ownership and pick up the phone and call those that needed to share the journey of self-reflection? This is what I was thinking, this is what happened, and that's that. And that self-reflection is a beautiful place because it will bring up the layers of you that you probably have forgotten. But then process of understanding yourself, the more layers we remove, the more easier the journey becomes. Spending quality time for yourself is also a great way of going close to the self. I would imagine everybody that is sitting here is really wanting to have a quality time. And we're not just here for the message part of the service, but for the quality time. Because this is your sacred time to be with your own higher self, while even though you're resonating with these words, but this is the quality time that you may have chosen for yourself. Some chose to be here under certain obligation, perhaps, but that is okay. But make this your quality time because you have already committed to this journey. Take the ownership and make it better. And you can be in your own space while my voice is going on. You can still create your own dialogue in your mind, and which is just A-okay. That can be far more superior than anything else. So you're already here in a sanctuary where there has been healing and messages and work of spiritual kind for many, many years. There's power here. Use that power. The speaker that is speaking to you may not be as effective as you think them to be, but you have your own space. You utilize that space. So that self-care from that perspective is the quality time for yourself. Is you can create quality no matter where that is. Even in chaos, you can find a little corner that has that quality for you. The other important part to go close to the self is resolve. Are we resolving life as it is happening, or are we creating life as it is happening? I'm learning, and I'm nowhere near perfect, but I'm seeing that these are the two sides of the same coin. The more I resolve, the more growth I find in myself. But then again, if I'm creating more growth, it's hard to find things that I needed to be resolving as life was moving along. How many of us remember 5 years ago what happened, what exactly was going on in life? Highlights maybe, not in its entirety. Some of us are really good in remembering chronological information, just the way it happens, but not most of us. But 5 years ago, if you were to ask me what was going on, all I could tell you, I was near graduation. I was a fresh graduate from Spiritualist University of God. And I was just really so excited about life that I omitted a lot of things that I could be resolving and working on myself. So the first few years were just super excited, and life was moving on. But as I'm reflecting in this journey of why is this all this even matter? Why all this is important? Why is it important? Because my recognition is that spiritualism is a very living philosophy. It continues, it transcends beyond death. So the more I'm working on myself here, the more free time I have up there. The less I have to come and make up with my people that are left behind. Isn't there a beauty in that in itself? You know, it's just a great feeling. The more simplified life is here, when I cross over and I'm in the spirit world, the less I have to come back and say sorry, or come back and say I should have talked to you more, or I should have given you time of my day. Because guess what happens when we're going through our readings and our mediumship abilities? There is a significant amount of work that takes place in healing the relationships that we already had in the physical world that we never figured it out. You would see, if anybody that is a practitioner or choosing this pathway, you will find out on its own what it takes to create that healing between the two worlds, to give that essence as a gift to humanity back. So you resolve your life today, you'll have a much easier lifetime. Then you're coming only for happy memories. So our choices are what makes everything work, or everything not work. So pay attention to those choices. But the more time we give to ourselves in this physical plane of understanding, we have the opportunity. After death, there is communication, but that's about it. That's about it. So the person next to you, you can touch and feel them today. That sensation is completely different than a sensation when we come back as a spirit world. It's not the same. It is there, but it's still not the same. Hopefully, as you go onward and forward in the life today, you will recognize to shake hands with somebody that you haven't. Call them up. Give them a hug. Even though they may not be receptive, you do your part. And that's what we said, we will do our part. And the part of the beauty in here is to take care of the self that is existing in this very moment. So we're going to come back to the mundane part of life, which is this. And the mundane part of life is, how many of us said we're going to go travel when we retire in 65 years old or 68 years old? How many of us had that plan? We made plans that one day we will do something. But that day did come for some of us. What are we doing there? Did we go really travel? Did we really fulfill our dreams? Are we taking care of those things today? So for me, I am learning to understand, since spiritualism somewhere teaches me to be staying in the present moment and not dwell so much in the past and the future, I'm trying to enjoy life just as it is happening. Like in this very moment. But that also is not my ticket to gratification in any ways. So moderation, monitoring, self-reflection, self-control is a big thing. And that doesn't come easy. But I feel the journey of fulfillment is much significant. So being in the present moment is a very key component that we can offer to ourselves. So, those that are well read within the books and writings of spiritualism, those that were trans-channeled and those that were guided from the higher sources, just imagine, how did they come about? Neither of those writings came about dwelling in the past, pulling information from there. It definitely didn't happen going in the future looking for stuff. The medium, the channel, had to sit in that moment of his present moment and received that information. That information came about the future and about the past, but the receptivity was in this very moment. So to understand from that precepts and philosophy, where is life moving and what are we doing about it? And that is just a very small way of reflecting to where we can be. So how many of us are big followers of law of attraction school? I think all of us are, right? And what does the law of attraction say? If you can create a feel-good moment, things become much easier. That's sort of their magical key, that is. If you're sitting here frustrated, angry, upset with situations that are nowhere close to us, we are disturbing the frequencies that can be much farther productive and result-oriented. So to get to that good feeling place, the idea is to feel the good feeling thoughts and start resonating with it. But you have to do it now. You can't do it tomorrow. So to change the frequency, we have to stay in the present moment. I'm sure whoever has worked and whoever has families, there's always one life lesson in that family. At least one. I have a life lesson at work. I definitely have, but I see the divine in him as I am recognizing the divinity in me, and we just get along just fine. I have to understand that I have to be in the present moment. I cannot dwell on the past of how that connection is, but that's how life is. As long as you can stay in this given moment of our life, we had it made. We had it made. So what do you get by sitting here? What are you receiving? Because receiving is also happens in this very given moment. While you're dreaming, you may be dreaming about the future, but that dream is happening in that very moment. It's not happening 2 days later. The results of the dream come in the future time period, but you're dreaming in that very present moment. Even in the sleep state, the present moment always exists. It does not leave our sight. So how many of us go to bed with a great resolve at the end of the day? Or how many of us just go to bed squirming with angst and worry and stress? What are we doing? It's a very important thing to take care of self, because this self, guess what, is going up. And itself has to work itself out in some way, shape or form. So might as well resolve life as it is happening in this very time period. So just not too long ago, we had a beautiful experience in one of the sessions with somebody. And then again, this example is to share what goes on in a medium's life or in a spiritualist life. It's not about me, it's about just the experience. You see so many individuals that come seeking that healing and communication. But when the communication from the spirit self comes forward to talk to their family members, sometimes it's beautiful because there are tears of joy. There is healing that is taking place. And sometimes it's beautiful to see the jaws clenching and the muscles tightening up because they are still not in a place of healing. They are still not in a place of healing. It's such a beautiful journey. But when you observe that, then it always leaves me in that place of like, how would I react if I were to be in their shoes? Because the work is not a place of judgment, it's just a place of observation. So as I observe myself within those experiences, I always, at the end of the conversation, I always take time to just reflect like, how would I have responded if I had their journey? And that always keeps me somewhat humble and true to where I need to be. It just sort of is like a reality check. Check the box off there. But as I sense this, share this conversation, it's just a journey, because we do talk with friends and family in real time. And we sometimes really don't know what is the depth of somebody's journey. And we create responses that are suiting for our perspective, may not really apply to their journey because we're not there, we're there. So to understand that self is an observing self, and when we observe that, we have to just create And awareness, where the present moment is the moment. How we interact, engage with others is also happening in this very present moment. So I keep coming back to this present moment because spiritualism has been such an immaculate journey in my life, because 10 years ago where I was such a futuristic child. I still am in some ways. And I was such a futuristic child. I already know what home I wanted. I already knew what car I wanted. I still go in those places where the desires or the wantings are out there. But I have to be more connected in the here and now. So I always keep an eye on the present moment. To have a goal is a great thing, but to have an attachment with it is a total different thing. It'll come the way it'll come. You can dream about it, of course, because that's a good place of being, especially if it's a positive dream. If I'm thinking about taking a forest down, that's a whole different story. But we're just talking about simple things. So the humanness always stays, but the spiritualism keeps teaching me, you come back right here, just pay attention to what's going on. Be attentive, stay in this very moment. The future's going to figure itself out. So it's sometimes it's beautiful to walk the talk and then talk the walk. It goes back and forth, and it's always a catch-22, because you just really know when you're walking what's coming up, and when you're talking what's going to come forward to you. It's just a beautiful loop, and it's very interesting because it never has a dull moment for me. And I'm sure it doesn't have a dull moment for you. It's always engaging, you know. It's always engaging. Life is always engaging. And spiritualism has left me with a sense of awe with that engagement. It's just like every time I go through a doorway, there's definitely something there to discover. So I do dream about the house and things that are meaningful to me. But then again, I am left with a reason to investigate. Am I doing this with a sense of selfing purpose, or I am doing this just because it's a feel-good thing, and that can be one day a possibility that I will get to experience. So we have to dissect our dreams in some ways of what we are wanting from life. What the underlying current is with that. Do I need to feel secure? Do I need to have a sense of prosperity behind it, or I'm just good with simple things? So my dream home possibly looks very simple, very straightforward, but there's a dream. And there's a dream because there's a pathway that is leading towards simplicity with that. It's not about the bells and whistles in some ways. It has to be simple. So spiritualism has worked me in many different ways, and it's continuing to give me a lot of thinking moments. I just sit in stillness and be in tune with the spirit world, where my family members live, where their teachers are, where their higher beings are, and where their master teachers are. And there's so much more. And there's such beauty in that space that sometimes it's hard to find amongst the human life. But that is also the thing that keeps me real, because I still have to coexist with life as it's happening on the earth plane. The one thing before I finish, what else spiritualism has taught me? Spiritualism has taught me servitude in a big way. It has taught me to be of service to those that I come in contact with, and those that are reaching out to me for whatever their need may be. It's going on almost 3.5 years that I started the Healing on the Porch just by listening to a voice. We will do healing on the porch, and it's going to be done this way. The exact format was there. It was very auditory, and whenever that happens, my responsibility is follow through, not dismiss that. That's my dedication to the spirit side of life. So we started, and through that journey, there has been so many souls that have come that were really in need of healing. And every time they walk away from that healing bench, the desire is to see, I wish I was of service to them in some smallest, tiniest way. Spiritualism has given me that. Most of the religions do lean on servitude, but how they see it is their choice. Spiritualism for me has a very simple way of what you receive as gift, you have to share some way. It cannot be everything about the economics. So giving of my time is very valuable. It is very important for me in my journey. Thus, I give freely as much as I can. Because the more I give, the more there is for me to learn. And when there is more there is for me to learn, there is more for me to share. Servitude is very important. There are so many people that are in need of that service for their own reasons. They need that support, and we all are capable of it. I'm so grateful when the churches open their door for taking the perishable items for charity, taking money for good causes to support the rightful causes. Such a great feeling, because the servitude is the key component of a religious organization. And my journey, it may be religious, but it is more spiritual for me. So I choose to give time freely, but that has really stemmed from serving and coming into the light of spiritualism, because we're serving the two worlds at the same time, the physical and the non-physical world, the human world and the spirit world, and all it is asking of us is to be there when we are asked for. So that's a sort of a commitment in its own way. So that servitude is very important. And with that being said, I hope as you leave from here, you find that a little part of you has woke up and said, I will take care of myself, because the more I care for myself in the here and now, the less I will have to wonder about when I cross over to the other side of the veil. Thank you.